Rail lines gone, bridges destroyed, distribution warehouses flooded and gone as well. We got people's working at Ingalls, Food Lion, people in the distribution and supply chain networks that are sharing with us exactly what's going on behind the scenes. You're going to want to know this information. If you're in the damaged area, we got a lot of tips for you. If you're outside the area looking to help, we got a lot of information there too. My background is in disaster relief. I responded to a bunch of these disasters and worked in the off seasons planning a lot of these disaster responses. I'm going to give you a bunch of tips and tricks on that, on how to help. Also, we got reports in some areas, which is not unsurprising, that some areas are turning away spontaneous volunteers. So if you're just loading up a truck full of stuff and then taking it to the disaster zone, some of these areas are actually turning you back. They do not want you in the disaster zone. There's problem with looting happening in some of these places as well. And we have a couple updates from around the country as well that are very important that we need to not lose sight of too. We got West Virginia out there now using eminent domain to seize houses, private houses, so that they can house others. We got that and a whole bunch of other reports. Let's jump into it. Welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade, and I am also a disaster response person by volunteer, and for a few years I was a professional disaster relief responder overseas. I've responded to well over half a dozen of these things so far, from flooding in Kentucky. You guys were there for that. Last hurricane down in Florida. Also, we got some hurricanes back in the day, Superstorm Sandy, all that kind of stuff. So I want to give you some of the insider information on this stuff. Also, before we get into things, make sure you do use the word update in your comments if you have something to share with the group. It can be a comment on this video or on any video on this channel. Make sure you use the word update and give some sort of geographical location if it's relevant. Before we dive in, we do want to thank our sponsor, Genesis Gold Group. Having your house safe, having your stuff safe, but also having your retirement account safe. Is it in stocks? Is it in bonds? Is that a safe place for it? If you want to get some of your money over into gold, silver, or platinum, physical metals for your retirement plan, you might want to talk to Jonathan and his team about that. A lot of you have, and they do waive the setup fee if you mention this channel, by the way. So there'll be a link at the end of the video if you want to find out more about that. All right, some of you guys, before we dive in, some of you guys have asked about the validity of my report yesterday about the special operations, Israeli special operations now inside Lebanon. Just to want to give you some confirmation, Wall Street Journal has now confirmed that as well independently. So yes, that is absolutely happening. And Israel, I just saw, just confirmed that they are going to be engaging in a small scale incursion into Lebanon. That's not going to be a long-term invasion and occupation, but it's going to be some sort of in and out kind of thing. But Israeli tanks are massing along the border. It is going to kick off any moment now, it looks like. Also, there was a big chemical fire in Georgia at the biolab. A lot of you guys have seen the pictures and videos of the smoke billowing out, heavily toxic smoke. A lot of this was pool chemicals. I've talked to you about pool shock and how nasty of a chemical it is, and how you really need to be careful about getting it wet. You need to be careful about the gases that come off of this. We got a lot of chlorine gas being released. 90,000 residents still under lockdown, indefinite lockdown, told to shelter in place. It is bad news. If you are in the immediate area, if you're still sheltering in place and you're feeling pretty good about it, but if things are not looking so great, you might want to look at the potential of bugging out of the area, because this is severely nasty chemicals. This is making, I don't want to predict anything just yet, but from what I'm just seeing from the outsider, this is my uninformed opinion, it looks like it's going to be worse than East Palestine. That's my initial take on this. Scientists are going to say other things and everything like that, and some of you guys know more about these chemicals and exactly the chemical processes and stuff like that. But It's nasty stuff, and it's a lot of nasty stuff that's been released. So be careful with the water around that area. If you're well water, make sure you know where your water's coming from, all that kind of stuff like that. And if you can get out of that area, I know you're hit with a storm and everything like that too. So this is a big deal. The chlorine smell is being smelled as far away as Atlanta. It's big. All right, a bunch of your reports here on related to the storm damage. Christina, small towns in western North Carolina out of food and gas. Patches. The authorities are asking for individuals to go through existing agencies to donate or give aid. People flocking there, though well-meaning, can be part of the problem. The National Guard is blocking incoming traffic due to dangerous conditions and, unfortunately, looters. So if a church or others loads up a truck of supplies to bring there, they may be turned away. So I briefly mentioned this last night. If I were giving to an organization, I would be giving to one of the state organizations for the Southern Baptist disaster relief. So like I'd be like North Carolina Disaster Relief, Southern Baptist Disaster Relief, or Tennessee Southern Baptist Disaster Relief. They already have all their equipment paid for and everything like that. So when they get money like this, it just goes all towards buying supplies and distributing them. They use volunteers for all the labor, so you're not paying wages, you're not paying for the equipment that they're using because it's already been donated by the churches and the people involved. So that's biggest bang for your buck. Same thing with Salvation Army. Salvation Army does the same kind of thing. They have their equipment already. They don't have nearly as much equipment as the Southern Baptist Disaster Relief has, but they use volunteers for everything there too, so that's big. If you don't want to give to a Christian organization, I would recommend, with a little bit of trepidation, Red Cross. They do use paid volunteers, so their volunteers do get paid. They say that they're unpaid, but they're not. They get paid fairly decent wages, but they do good work, and they really do make things happen out there in the field. So those are organizations I recommend. If you want to give to a YouTuber, Pinball is doing stuff right now. He may have too much money right now for what he was planning on doing. I don't know. Check in with his channel. Also check in with Bear Independent, with Grindstone. I'm sure that they're already on their way and doing stuff. Grindstone is usually open to volunteers, so if you want to go and volunteer, Grindstone will accept that. Samaritan's Purse and people's church denominations usually have disaster relief out there. I know Samaritan's Purse is big about accepting volunteers, so if you're looking to do it that way. But all that to say, try to work through an organization. If you can't work through a national organization that does disaster relief, then try to work with a local organization like a local church or a local, work with somebody on the field there that knows what's going on and can make sure that you're housed, can make sure that your stuff is being distributed properly, that it's going somewhere. It's not just you're just sending it to an area. That's not good. Work with an organization. We have inside the disaster relief community, we have a name for people who show up with a truckload of stuff or who show up with a chainsaw and like, I want to help. They're called SUVs, Spontaneous Untrained Volunteers. Now, a lot of you guys who have a lot of experience with chainsaws or whatever else is needed, you have a lot of experience. That's great, but if you're not connected to an organization, who knows what you're able to do or what you can do safely or anything like that. And having all these people just flocking in, just trying to help, actually creates a giant logistical mess. And there's some nefarious characters in there pretending like they're there just to help. Oh, I'm just here to pass out water. What they're really doing is they're going from house to house, scoping out houses so that they can rob them. And that is unfortunately the reality of the situation there too. How do they know if someone's a good-hearted volunteer or they're doing recon for looting houses? So best to partner with actual organizations. A lot of these organizations will accept untrained volunteers. They'll attach you with a crew leader that is trained, who has a badge, who can provide identification to people who are asking, is this a legitimate organization? And a lot of times they'll give you like a shirt or something like that, so you have uniforms too. Just a reminder here though, I see some people out there saying there's no help coming in, there's nothing happening. Well, it takes 3 days. That's what the American Red Cross is trying to do. They want to have hot meals, food provided within 3 days, water provided to people within 3 days of a disaster hitting an area. Oftentimes they kind of beat that because, you know, like with a hurricane coming into a coast, it's like, well, you know it's coming, you see it coming, okay, we need to be prepared for this, and they usually pre-deploy a lot of stuff. I don't think anyone was really prepared for this severe flooding or this kind of impact deep inland. So North Carolina was unprepared from what I gather, Tennessee unprepared, northern Georgia, a lot of these areas, people were not expecting the damage to be this severe this far inland. Because of that, it means that it's going to take the disaster response organizations a little bit longer to spin up. I've been getting hit with emails from my Pennsylvania disaster relief through the Southern Baptist, and they're looking for team leaders, and they've already started putting together 2 crews. So we have 2 crews that are heading down to somewhere down south. I don't know if we know yet where we're going. So 1 week and then 1 week, 2 separate teams, because we're a little bit further away from the disaster zone. And they will get attached. Our Pennsylvania teams are going to get attached to wherever they're needed at the moment. But right now, a lot of these organizations are still trying to figure out where's the damage, who needs what organizations are available to provide things. They're not looking at the person driving in with a pickup truck with bottled water in the back of their pickup truck. They're looking at organizations that can commit to taking care of an area and commit certain resources and that kind of thing. So they're having to move entire mobile kitchens. A lot of these mobile kitchens, if you're not familiar with them, Southern Baptists have something like 360 mobile kitchens. A lot of these kitchens are capable of doing anywhere between 10 to 40,000 meals per day. And it takes a whole bunch of volunteers to run these things because you're making hot meals for a whole lot of people. But these kitchens need to be moved. The volunteer teams need to be moved. They need to set up headquarters where they can have the teams with water and power if possible, or generators to provide the power, or tankers to provide the water, all that kind of stuff happening behind the scenes. I promise you, the disaster relief organizations like Southern Baptist, Samaritan's Purse, Salvation Army, Catholic Charities, Red Cross are all spinning at a million miles per minute trying to get all this stuff organized and get deployed to a lot of these zones. A lot of these areas, search and rescue is still taking place. And I know that a lot of it is now starting to turn over to search and recovery, which is also something that volunteer organizations do not do so much of. Once the recovery and once people's lives have been saved, then they'll move into making sure people have food and water. So once again, you need to have 3 days of food and water. You need to be completely self-sufficient. Everyone needs to be self-sufficient for 3 days. That's what FEMA says. That's what Red Cross says. That's what everyone says. So anyone who's like, well, I don't have 3 days of food and water in my home, it's like, well, everyone's told you need to have that, and that's the reality. Okay, I'm done preaching on that. Let's hear more of the reports. Sorry. Amy says, I live 20 minutes south of Asheville, North Carolina. As of last night, Bucumbe County, I guess, if I heard correctly, has 25 that have perished, and that's 30 total in my area. So much due to rivers that snake their way through the Asheville and Swannanoa. The Ingalls Distribution Center headquarters is in that valley. We won't get power back until October 4th. Thanks be to God I found you on the online prepping community, or I would not have been prepared. I have enough in my preps to help those around me as well. Our neighbors are awesome. We drove to Georgia yesterday to get gasoline since we filled up our cars when we heard about the hurricane. so that they could keep running generators and chainsaws. God is always good, even in times of crisis. Benzomatic says, I fled Asheville. It's completely devastated. No power, no water, no food, no cell service, no gas. Could be weeks till power comes back to some parts of the area because they're just gone underwater. Maybe can see some rooftops. Please pray for us. Everything is gone. Ibis. This is a warning to you guys out there in the disaster zone or hoping to go into the disaster zone. Y'all be careful with the chainsaws, please. My wife works at in the Augusta University Medical Center Trauma Surgery Department, and there are so many injuries. A significant portion of them are people with chainsaw-related injuries who took things too fast or cut a tree the wrong way. Help your neighbors and family, but save the hospital beds and doctors for other folks, and don't be dumb. Chainsaws are extremely dangerous, of course. Be working with other people so that if something happens, you can get taken to the emergency room. Also, of course, be extremely careful. Make sure you understand what you're doing. I know you guys know exactly what you're doing, and we, especially us guys, right? We know, and we won't push things too far, but we get into a pinch, and we sometimes go a little further than we should, right? Instead of admitting that we need some help or to back off and really think things through or do things a more difficult way, we just kind of hope for the best. And so please be careful. All right. Rowan says, my daughter works at Food Lion in Middle Tennessee. Her store manager sent out a message on social media warning customers their distribution line has been impacted. This is Food Lion. Trucks are being rerouted through Atlanta. My daughter has told us the truck that they were expecting Friday morning arrived 9 o'clock Saturday night. So we got a lot of trucks being diverted, but they do still seem to be moving for Food Lion. P.A. Turner says, Greenville, Tennessee, water out for at least a week. Pump station taken out by the floods. So no clean water in a lot of these places. If you are in the surrounding areas and you usually buy bottled water, here's a thought, maybe don't buy bottled water for this week or 2 weeks. If you have tap water that's clean and you're outside the impacted area, try not to buy the bottled water. Okay, I know it's not much, but every little bit helps so that they have more to send into the disaster areas. I know they're already moving a lot of stuff over anyway, but Pinch Runner says, tremendous amount of the 460-mile west coast of Florida has been decimated. Media has forgotten about Florida already. Multiple keys, islands, coastal towns lifted and thrown off foundations and down the coast. Please pray for Cedar Key and all the affected towns in Florida as well. So yeah, I know North Carolina's getting a lot of attention right now, but still a lot of damage down there in Florida. It's worse than the last hurricane that hit Florida. So there's damage all over the place, and I know that they're trying to get response teams and relief teams to all these different areas, but it's a lot. Everyone can help. Please do what you can. Janice says, I'm in Southwest North Carolina. Although we were spared by Helene's weather, we are seeing the fallout at the store. Ingalls is the only grocer here. Their warehouse is in the flooded part of the state. I went to get milk and was shocked by the empty shelves. There were only 2 heads of slimy lettuce, no bananas, not much other produce, no ground beef, sparse seafood. They were also only taking cash or checks. I'm not sure if trucks can't get to us or if they're diverting goods to the flooded areas. Stay safe and stock up if you can. And I skipped this one, and that's why I was wondering where it was. This is from Jay. I redacted her name a little bit more just because her husband works for Ingalls at the somewhere up in the upper management levels. Update, Ingalls warehouse is flooded out. Lots of trucks have been destroyed, basically. They say wasted, but Tennessee Eastern from Virginia to Georgia. That's their distribution network from this main warehouse for Ingles. No outages, no internet. Ingles has no internet. They're working on it. And they also go on to share with me that, to assure me that Ingles employees and management are working so hard, all out, trying to fix the logistical network, trying to get food to the stores. So they are definitely doing that, but their main warehouse was flooded and they lost basically their servers that run all their credit card and stuff like that. So that's what's going on with Ingles. Like they said, they're working on it. They're absolutely going to get that fixed, but they're dealing with some pretty serious issues themselves, okay? MN Engineer says, here in the suburbs of Minneapolis, I've been noticing more and more stores having armed guards. I've seen it in grocery stores, big box electronic stores, gas stations, and now even big box hardware stores. Armed guards in hardware stores. My state has been flooded with visitors and the crime that comes along with it. Last time during the cough, they realized they didn't have enough. This is me now, sorry. Last time during the cough, they realized that they didn't have two things. They wanted to control everyone and have everyone obey all the rules and everything like that, and they realized they had two big problems. They didn't have enough physical barriers, and they didn't have enough armed guards. And they've been fixing both of those issues, if you've noticed. To properly lock down the population and their food sources, they had to shut down a lot of mom and pop stores and get everyone to go to the big box stores. They had to have more physical barriers at these stores. And then they also need to have more armed guards at these stores already. C5 Rose says, just heard from some living in the affected area in Georgia to expect high prices in the future for pecans, as many pecan orchards just lost their crop down south. Also, peanut and cotton crops will be affected adversely. We'll get you more estimates on that in the coming weeks, but just be aware pecans, peanuts, and cotton may be affected price-wise out there soon. Wolfman says West Virginia has passed a law to take all abandoned houses for beautification. But I just found out firsthand that their beautification is that they're remodeling them and placing Ohio overflow others from Haiti and such there in places, especially places with only 100 plus, 100 people in the villages in those towns. So small towns, small places, they're really getting the influx of people. But they're eminent domaining what they believe are abandoned and properties that are not being upkept. They're seizing them and then turning them into housing for others. They're trying to flip West Virginia to blue there too, apparently. All right, friends, if you want to find out more about Genesis Gold and what you can do with your retirement account, there's a link right down there. Once again, do check out either Pinball or Southern Baptist Disaster Relief or American Red Cross or one of those other organizations to see if you can help out, whether it's by contributing or by, if you're trying to go, Grindstone might be good for you, or another faith-based organization that you're connected to. If you want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right up there. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you guys later. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report out.